Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning at 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres and Eden. We'll start off by giving some tzedakah. Gedol tzedakah shemakarev is lagula. Tzedakah is gonna hopefully bring Mashiach already. And as we've been always talking about, how this shiur is in honor of all the Eden Eretz Yisroel and all the soldiers and all the unfortunate hostages and captives, and specifically she's been Simcha. She come home already. And Eden bat Orin. Mitzvah Hashem should be healthy and safe and really good. Yeah, so let's get into it. So yesterday we were talking how we worked on that story, how basically the person, even though it's a funny story from the Zohar, that even though there was a person that he saw the princess, and I think he said something, and so she commented to him like, "I'll see you in the grave." Like, it's not happening. In simple English, it's not happening. Don't even think about it. But the person was so infatuated and so lost that he waited for her in the cemetery. The mile of that was he lived there and he just secluded himself from the world, which helped him seclude himself from all his taivas and all these yitzaharas and all these issues that were pulling him back from being able to see things clearly. And that actually helped him to transform himself, to realize, hey, there's God, and I'm not serving God, and I'm totally self-centered. I'm doing all these things wrong, and I should get out of this. And I managed to help him. Yeah, and that's sort of what we're talking about. And so now, so today we're going to discuss how on one hand we can be very high, and on the other hand we can be very low. Let's see, page 223. And with this, we'll understand what our rabbis say. In Chagiga, Shisha Devarim Nemru B'nei Adam, there's 6 things that are talked about in a person. 3 of them, Shaleisha Kamalche Ashares, 3 are like the ministering angels, or Shaleisha Kavahema, and 3 are like animals. So we can be like ministering angels, which is very spiritual and very high, very lofty, and very holy, or we could be like animals, which is an animal. I know the Adam, that a person, Hine Mitzad Teva, Gufa Unti Yosef, who could be that a person by his body and his natural instincts, they're animalistic. Adam and therefore when we do animalistic things, we become worse than an animal. The behemoth, why are we worse than an animal? Because seemingly we're doing the same thing as an animal, so why does it make us worse? If anything, makes us like an animal. Because the behemoth ain't no das. Because the animal doesn't know any better, doesn't understand. But Adam yeshay das, and a person does. Like, for example, a simple example of this is a little child. They say, "I don't like you." So any reasonable person understands that a little kid saying, "I don't like you," doesn't mean much. The kid doesn't appreciate what that means. But imagine a friend of yours, someone your age, comes to you and say, "I don't like you." It's a whole different experience. It's totally different. That'd be so much more hurtful and painful. And this is what we're saying here. When an animal does animalistic things, it's doing what it normally does. Is it right? No. Is it good? No. But it's expected. Whereas when we're expected a lot more. So when we do it, it's worse. And this is I think one of the most important points which sort of bring out here. And this is something we shouldn't miss. A lot of time we read these things, we're like, "Oh, you see, I'm worse than an animal. When I do this, when I do an Avera, I'm worse than an animal." That's not the message we're trying to get here. The message is we have to recognize that we are above and beyond all these things. And when we pull ourselves down or like describe ourselves similar to lowly things, then we're way off. You know, and this is like when people say, "This is who I am." That's not who you are. It's not at all who you are. To the extent that if you behave that way, you're much worse than an animal. If that's who you are, then why are you worse than an animal? Just like an animal does animalistic things and not just natural. So we also have Nefesh Muhammad. So why is it not I'm doing my animalistic things? This is who I am. Because you're not. You're way above that. and we expect from you more. We expect from you more makes us realize that we have much more potential than what we think, and we have to push ourselves a lot more. The behema eil das, adam yesh das. So mitad teva nafsha in tiyesav hu kamal chasharis, and really by nature, by our natural instincts, we have really an ability to be like angels. We can reach the highest of spiritual levels. That's who we are. We're potential over here. And when we're acting like animals, we're acting over here. We said, this is who I am. That's not who you are. You're meant to be over there. We're meant to be way higher. And this goes down to a lot of the things that we say to ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, and how we look at ourselves. Look at yourself in the mirror. Can we do that? And when we do that, can we look at ourselves and be proud of that? And we should be proud of it not because of what we've done necessarily, because of who we are. To look at ourselves, hey, look at that. I see a nefesh l'kis. When you look at someone else, what are we meant to see? We see their clothing, see the external appearances, or do we see a neshama? That's what it says. This says in Tanya Peraglan base. You see the person who really is, and this is what we're talking about. And we have to remove all these layers and see who we really are. So therefore, a person when we raise ourselves up with this knowledge, with this level of das, we become even higher than the ministering angels. So we can either be lower than the animal or higher than the angel. We can't be animals and can't be angels. We're above these things. We're meant to be above it. And even the angel, what's an angel? An angel doesn't do averos. We can go above that. Now you're gonna ask the question. 1 second. If they don't do averos, how can we go higher than them? We for sure do averos. So we'll learn. We'll see. But the point is, we have to recognize who we are. And when we wake up in the morning, when we're saying brachas, we have to think about, I'm good. Neshama shensat to be tahira here. I have a pure neshama lamaila above these angels, and I try to push myself to reach that level. Not to reach the level because that's how I'm going to be good, but because I am good. Because I have a neshama, I have to just tap into it. I don't have to create something new. I just have to reveal what's already there. The malchei hashares hineim amidasam ba'elam aruchni. Their level is in spirituality. Mammer, like it says, kulam klum yitzhara yesh b'chem. Like it says, you have yitzhara. There's all argument between the angels and Moshe Rabbeinu. When the time to giving the Torah, it's a very famous sikha that the angels are saying, you're giving the Torah to these people? Like, have you seen them? Like, why would you give them the Torah? So Hashem said to Moshe, no, so you go answer them. And there's a whole back and forth. So Moshe says to them, you have Yitzhar. Like, this Torah wasn't written for you. You don't have what the Torah talks about. You have a covetous of your father and mother. You don't have that. What are you talking about? The Torah's nothing going to do with you. The point is, even though we have the Yitzhar and the fight that we have to battle, which the angel doesn't have, that doesn't make us worse. It makes us be able to go higher than the angel. Adam shehu bal ba'ilm haz hagashmi umask b'inyanim hayes nailim ba'asagas lekus asagas zu pa'elas boy ratzid shuka lidabek v'lekus. Person that we are in this physical world that has this feeling of distance from Hashem, and we take it and we try to understand godliness, and we realize that there's God involved and God wants to be connected with us, and that causes us to have this understanding, which causes us to have this desire to be connected with Him. This is much more profound and much greater than the ministering angels. It's like a simple sense. When you're in seminary and you're learning, because that's Seder, and you manage to get on time, fine. Imagine now, pay attention to how learning is when you left. And then you have to do it yourself. You have to go push yourself through. What's greater? It's way greater now than what it was in seminary. And this is what we're saying. Being in seminary like a malach, you just, to learn, you just have to come to Seder. Especially if they're just a teacher, you have to sit there and listen. So you just have to come. Now we have to put in that effort. That's a much higher level. Because when we do this, we elevate ourselves, and we become. Why do we become above angels? Because we elevate the world around us. This physical world that looks separated from Hashem. From this exact reason, Hine Nishtana, that's why we're created very different than everything else. Like we said in the beginning. We said we're created much lower. Where first was a body, then there was a neshama, where everything else was a neshama and a body. But here it's one and then the other. We made it sound like it's a negative. Here, this shows us why it's a positive. Because the gufay, who mehachemer ha'av agas, our body comes from the most coarse, thick dirt. The yois, the b'koyach nishmas l'ayir gamas achoshech hagas lavchach shechach shel haguf hagas l'nehira. That the reason why it's done this way is to show us that we have and to give and because we have the ability to transform the most coarse things, even the thing that's so inanimate, so separated from Hashem, we have the ability to transform it. And this is the whole purpose of why we're here, to transform ourselves. and what we're recognizing, this is something that we have to really internalize this message. That our struggles in life and the things that make it hard is not a negative. That's what makes us special, and that's what makes us the traces of creation and even higher than angels because of this challenge. And when we overcome that challenge, it's not just we overcame the challenge and I'm not so bad. The whole purpose of creation has been fulfilled when we overcome that challenge. Like we said before, it's through iskafia and ishapcha, through having iskafia. When you hold yourself back from doing something you shouldn't do, and you do, and you say, I'm not going to do that. Let's say you're not going to go to bed late. You say, I'm going to go to bed, it's going to have a bad day, I'm not going to daven properly, I'm not going to learn, the day is going to be shut. And you know what? I'm going to go to bed on time, I'm not going to watch this thing, I'm going to go to sleep, say Shema, and go to bed. That is higher than anything an angel can do. And you think to yourself, oh, what did I do already? Angels have none of this. It doesn't exist in their world. And that's why we are, like we said, in 6 things, we are like the angels, and we're like animals. Really, we're above angels and animals. And this is what we're showing here. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the next Mammer, which we're going to start. Next base. Kitzer. The higher you are, the lower you fall. But but meaning because our neshama comes from such a high source, we're able to come down so low. Like we said, the example of the building. He explains, however, the stone that's at the bottom of the wall, when it falls very close to the wall. It doesn't really move anywhere. Like we said before, whatever's higher goes further away. And what's in the top of the wall, and when it falls much further away from the wall. Hanetius hagufnius sheba adam garuim mibale chayim. The natural tendency of the person is worse than an animal if we do it wrong. But when Hanetius anavshius anilis mibale. Whereas when we turn to in the positive, we're even higher than angels. And we have the ability to transform darkness into light. And this is how we're going to look at ourselves. We are people with the ability to transform the world, to transform the darkness into light. And the transforming the world is not grand, crazy things. It's davening in the morning. It's washing our hands, saying brachos, giving some tzedakah, being nice to people, being nice to ourselves, trying to connect with Hashem, doing mitzvahs, all these things. We're gonna stop here, and we'll do Perek Gimel tomorrow. I'll just tell you a quick story. Just posted it. I saw it yesterday. That there was a guy that grew up like basically anti-Chabad. On Eretz Yisroel, learned in yeshivas and everything, and so he grew up always like he learned anti-Chabad, and this is recently. And basically, he was always struggling. He had like this feeling, like connection to Hashem, like something was missing. And he said one day he went to some shul, and he found this little pamphlet, which is like a summary of a sikha from the Rebbe. And he was like, and so he was like, let me see more fodder for my fire against Chabad. and he read it, and it blew him away. It was like, this is what he was like so desperately needing, and it transformed him. And he's like, now he learns Zchus. My mind, he's I don't know if he's an outright chassid, whatever it is, but he's totally connected. And he was like, he goes, I used to think the Rebbe was a campaigns guy. You know, make campaign, put on tefillin, give tzedakah, things like that. That's campaigns. I didn't realize how much the Rebbe learned and how knowledgeable he's in Torah. He said that like blew him away. And also he said, so the point that I'm trying to bring out, he said, this is what he said. This was sort of like the kicker. He goes, before I learned Chassidus, he goes, I was the center of the world. It was all about me. When I davened, I asked Hashem for my needs, all about me and me. He goes, when I learned Chassidus, the Rebbe showed me, he goes, he transformed myself, and the whole world was about Hashem. And I daven for Hashem. I do a mitzvah for Hashem. Before everything was for me and my schar, my olam haba, and my good life. And what Chassidus showed him is everything is for Hashem. And this is exactly what we're learning here. We have to recognize, not get caught up with this. Everything we're learning has the same intention, that when we understand who we are, thought so we have a better life, which also we do, but it's about being able to do what Hashem wants from us. We have a mission, and we've been given this mission, a special mission, and we have to do that to the best of our ability. And how do we do that is by understanding ourselves. Why do we understand ourselves? Not just for us, it's not just for ourselves, it's so we can do our mission properly. So mitzvah by all of us, we should recognize all these things that we're talking about and internalize it, and really transform ourselves. And ultimately, why? So we can serve Hashem properly and have an amazing day. Thank you for